Okay, there we go. All right, so I will turn it over to you and let's hear about branch post offices and their cancellations. Looks very interesting.
Thank you very much. I love the cancellations because if we are speaking about the stamps, the postal stamps, then it is always around, first of all, the special issues around our pocket or money. The post wants to get money from us, but the cancellations are the mm, so it shows up how the post works in real life. And we can see on the envelopes, and it is a practice from the post. And I like to search and research these cancellations. And today I would like to speak to you about very specific cancellations of Hungary. These are the branch post offices, and it had two different periods when we can find such a cancellation where it is written in the cancellation that it's a branch post office. In Hungarian, it is fiókposta, and it is abbreviated as FP. So if you see in a cancellation FP or fiókposta or fiók somewhere, then it's a branch post office cancellation. And about 15 years before, 17 years before, I started a very good cooperation with Tamás Gudlin because he wanted to publish a catalog about the postal agencies, about the cancellations of the postal agencies. And we discussed it in Sindelfingen in Germany, that he wants to publish this catalog. And I asked him about branch post offices. And he told me that he doesn't collect the branch post office cancellations, and he doesn't plan to make a catalog about them. And we discussed this topic, and because there is a very strong connection in the postal history of Hungary between postal agencies and branch post offices. And we decided to prepare this catalog together. And Tamás Gudlin worked on postal agencies, and I worked on branch post offices. And this catalog was published, I don't know, about 8 years before or maybe more, I cannot remember. And this topic, what I will present now, it was part of this catalog, and you can see some more additional information to this topic. Oops, sorry. Tick, tick. Yeah, okay. So what is planned for this today presentation? It's a short overview first. And after that, I would like to introduce the first period of the branch post offices. It was a very early time from 1886 until 19,000. The second period started in 1951 and it was closed by 2012. And I would like to give you a very, very short overview about the situation today, about the different postal service types in Hungary regarding the small villages, because the postal agencies and branch post offices were always very small post offices and mostly in small villages in the second period. In the first period, it is not true, but in the second period, most of them were located in very, very small villages. So I counted once the smallest villages where we could find earlier branch post offices, and I don't know, more than 50 villages had less than 50 people. in the village. So these are really very, very small ones. Of course, there were some bigger with more citizens, but most of them are really small ones. So a short overview about this period, postal period of Hungary regarding the branch post offices. When the Austro-Hungarian monarchy was established, we had a very intensive development in the country, and it was valid also for countryside. And the cities, the countryside villages and cities were bigger and bigger. The number of post offices remained as it was before. So I always want to give you some examples regarding uh, these facts, and mostly from my city. So my city in 19,000 was the fourth biggest one in Hungary, in historical Hungary. It was the big Hungary, I would say. It was the fourth biggest one in the country regarding the number of the citizens. And it had only one post office in the whole city. It had around 55,000 citizens at that time. Today we have 40,000, so a little bit less, but similar. And only one post office at that time for the whole city. And this city, for example, it was an agricultural city. So it had a very, very big mm, outer part for the city where we had a lot of farms, and they were mm, merged to small farm centers. And all these small farm centers wanted to have postal services. So it was a very strong pressure on the government and on the postal management to do something. And between 1886 and 19,000, they opened branch post offices, also earlier. So if we are speaking about the branch post offices, it is very important that there were a lot of branch post offices, but most of them, 95%, didn't use cancellation, which contained that it is a branch post office. So they had a very normal cancellation. Only few of them had specific one, which included that, yes, it is a branch post office cancellation. And this first period, until 19,000, that was the early period. After that, in 19,000, there was a big, big economical and governmental and postal reform in Hungary. They changed the names of the villages and cities. Until that time, we had same names for the different villages and cities in the country. Maybe you could see in the cancellations that the county name was included before in the cancellation on the bottom part of the cancellation. It was necessary because we had same names for in the county. So not only one, I don't know, I cannot give you now a good example, but we had more cities or more small villages with the same name. So they stopped it, they renamed them, unique name, and they gave new cancellations to these post offices where it was necessary, and so on. At that time, they numbered the post offices. Until that time, only in Budapest we had the numbers. In other cities, there was no number in the cancellations and not in the name of the post office. So from 19,000, it was a big, big reform in Hungary, and it was a big huge impact on the postal history. All these branch post offices, which had branch post office cancellation before, they were converted into a normal post office. So it was stopped to name them as branch post office. They were named as a numbered post office. In my city, this very first branch post office was converted and named as Hódmezővásárhely 2, so the second post office of the city. From 19,000, they started to open postal agencies. Practically from 19,002. So they started this postal agency opening procedure only 2 years later, but theoretically they got this idea that we need postal agencies. It was started by 1st of January 19,000. It is important to know that the postal agencies, the postmaster or the leader of the post office was not employed by the Hungarian Post. So he was a private person, he or she was a private person, and they had a contract with the Hungarian Post. That was the postal agency contract. So they were private entertainments or small companies or completely private person. And they had this contract and they made the postal services to the people. But from 1951, this is the social era, the socialist government, they stopped the postal agency contracts and they stated that all the postal agencies are governmental post offices in the future, and they stated that only governmental post offices can work in the country. And from that time, from 1951, we had only branch post offices and normal post offices. And all the postmen or postwomen, they were employed by the Hungarian Post. So this is completely different structure. And until 1990, that was the regime change in Hungary when socialist era was closed and a new political period was started. It was a big impact also on the postal services and the post management, the management of the post, they decided to open again postal agencies and post partners and a lot of other types of the postal services. So not only employed by the Hungarian Post, but contract with specific companies or private people and so on. So this is a short overview, and the branch post office history was closed most probably in 2012. So let's go back to the first period, the very early period, which is very nice. And that was really a good development period of Hungary, and a lot of small post offices were opened after the reconciliation in 1867. Yep. Hmm? No? I thought somebody had a question. Not. Okay. So most of these small post offices, they kept the original, so they had a name from the mother post office, I would say, Budapest, Pest, Nagykikinda, Temesvár, and so on. And on the bottom of the cancellation, they had a local name, Országház, this is the Parliament Post. Here, Lipótváros, this is part of Pest, and it was located in Lipótváros. And then for Nagykikinda, it was a small post office at railway station, pályaudvar. And the last one is an example from Temesvár. This is from gyárkülváros. It means that there was a company territory or producer territory where they had a small post office. So these are also, I would say, branch post offices, but you cannot see this name or something in the cancellation. We can, so when I started to research this topic, I could find it in monography, in the Hungarian monography, stamp monography. And there I could find 10 different cancellations, but only from 7 cities. It means that 3 cities, Kolozsvár, Miskolc, and Sopron, they had 2 different cancellations or postmarks. The others had only one. For example, Hódmezővásárhely, we had only one postmark or cancellation. And if we check the period of use, most of them were used only for very short period. So 1 year, 2 years, 7 years. The longest period is for Szombathely. It was used for 14 years, very long one. It's almost nothing if we check the complete postal history. And you can feel that these branch post offices were very small one for very short period. Of course, the cancellation is very, very rare. So I would say I am very, very happy if I can find one cancellation per year. It's really a very good result. So very, very rare. And you can imagine that I am searching for everywhere, searching for this cancellation in all auctions and everywhere. I would like to speak to you about the registration labels a little bit, because these branch post offices, which were mentioned here, these 7 post offices, they used also registration labels with the name Fiókposta. But I had a long discussion with the registration label collectors because they told me there were more. We know about, I don't know, 15 or 20 different registration labels from different cities with the name Fiókposta. But until now, as far as I know, there is no other city or post office where they used such a postmark where Fiókposta is written. For all the others, they used other cancellation type. I don't know which one. I did not check it, but not Fiókposta or branch post office cancellation. So also these registration labels with Fiókposta, these are very rare. So this is another type of collection which is really specific and very valuable, and it is well known in Hungary, hopefully, I hope so. And the registration label collectors evaluate on a very high level these registration labels. These drone pictures, mostly from the monography, and I think most of them are from monography, and one is missing. So if you try to remember, then I mentioned 10 different cancellations from 7 cities, and here we can see only 9. In the monography, the 10th postmark is missing. This is from Miskolc, the second one that is missing. I mean the drone picture. And later we will see why. And now I would like to show you my collection. So all these pieces are from my collection. If it is not, then I will mention explicitly. It is in alphabetic order, so that's why Hódmezővásárhely is the first one, but also by me it is the number one because this is my city. I live here already, I don't know, almost 40 years. I live here. I was not born here, but I live here a long time. And I try to collect everything about the postal history of this city. So here you can see some data. For all these 7 cities, you will see a small map where I mark the place of the city. And there is the drone picture from the monography, and you can see the pieces of my collection. If we check the left bottom corner, this is a special one because the two rule stamps are together with the previous stamp issue. It is very rare to see together, and together with this very specific cancellation, it is something unbelievable good piece for me. And if you see anywhere from this period that, like here in the middle, Fiók Posta, then it's for sure a very specific cancellation. And this other one on the right upper corner, this registered postal stationery card, this is the only one that I have ever seen from this city, from my city. And I am very proud of this piece that I could buy it and I can have it in my collection. And the other one on the right side, in the right bottom corner, it is only a cut, but it is together with the registration label, so it is also very nice. Some other examples, a recipe on the left side, and a postal card with this cancellation with 2 kreuzer. And it is something special for me because it was sent to a small village, to Doboz. You can see the name of the postal card, and my grandfather was born there in this small village. The next city is Kolozsvár. From the monography, we know about 2 different cancellations. It belongs to Romania today, and you can see some examples. On the left side, with the cancellation Roman 1 and A at the end, which is the night cancellation to this post office. So maybe you can see in the cancellation on the first one the N and an A or E in the second one. So N means day, daylight, and E means night. So they had 2 different cancellations for the daily part and in another one for the night part of the work. And I am just checking, yes, on the envelope, on the registered letter, you can see the cancellation N, and on top you can see the cancellation E, the 1 and A, Roman 1 and A. And the next one in the upper right corner, it is also E. If we check closely these cancellations with E, then I would say that it is without comma. So I think the drawn picture from monography is not completely correct because it includes a comma on E, but in the real one I don't see them. I don't see this comma. There are some small differences. If Can you hear me?
It could be AL és este.
I,
AL, you have a comma.
oops.
AM is evening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now I can hear you. I
Yeah.
think there was a problem with the
So,
connection.
Paul, did
Can you
you?
hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah,
Okay, good. Hopefully. If
it's
there is
very
a
good.
problem,
Very
please
good.
contact me. Okay. Oh, okay, let's go further. The next one is Nitra. It belongs to Slovakia today. And this post office had only one. It is in testing. This is the only one which contained fiók hív as a text in the cancellation. And it is in testing that they used one and a in the cancellation, but there was no other. So I don't know why was it necessary. Maybe, I don't know. I don't want to mention anything, but it is in testing. I have only 2 cancellations from this post office. So you can see that it is really very, very rare. I collect it, I don't know, more than 20 years. The next one is Miskolc, and I would like to apologize, Ellen, because I made a small change in the presentation,
Oh,
because last week I received this envelope from a friend. This is not from my collection. This is from the collection of Attila Folk, who lives in Székesfehérvár in Hungary. He is my stamp collector friend.
mm-hmm.
He sent me this envelope, and this is the very first one that I have ever seen from this Fiók Posta, from this branch post office. And it is a registered letter, so something super valuable and great piece. So I am happy that I can show you. I had some doubts if it exists at all because I have never seen it. But now we have a confirmation that yes, it exists and it is wonderful, nice. And also the cancellation is very readable and very
Beautiful.
nice.
So that's not in the presentation that you originally sent then. This.
Yes, it is not there. So I
Oh,
will share with you the new version of the presentation.
yep, yep.
But I wanted to insert it because it is so nice and it was necessary. And the next one is Sopron, which is very near to the Austrian border. Also, at that time, it was near to the border of Austria. And it had 2 different cancellations. The first one has no letter on the bottom side of the cancellation, and the second one has an A in the cancellation. As far as I can remember, I do not have the second one with the A in the cancellation, only without A, but it is also very nice for me. The next one is Satmar. And here we can see a very special case on the second postcard. It's a registered postcard. on the registration label, we can see Szatmár fiók. So it was a fiók posta, branch post office, office before. And in the cancellation, you can see that Szatmár, and it is already numbered to 3 because it is after 19,000, so or in 19,000. No, it was in 19,001. So at that time, it was already numbered to number 3, post office number 3, but they still used the branch post office registration label. So it happened at that time, but the cancellations were replaced. This is very, very interesting. Later, it was not the case. They replaced the registration label after 19,051, but the cancellations the postmarks were not replaced. And my problem is on the first left side postal card, it is not visible what is written after fiókposta. So something is there, but I don't know what. In the monography, they wrote Roman 1 and A, if I remember well, but I am not sure. So I would need a confirmation. After that, we can state that it's 1 or 1A or Roman 1, Roman 1A, Roman 1 dot A, and so on. Szombathely, this is the earliest one. It was opened in 1886, and this is an early envelope with cancellation 88. So this is also a confirmation that it was really opened so early, because we always have to double check if all the data are really correct, what was written in the different catalogs and books, and sometimes we can recognize some differences. But in this case, I hope so, I think so, that 1886 was correct.
I see, excuse me, back up, please. I see someone has written in pen 1898 over the 1888.
Yes, that's true. And I was thinking why, but it is, I think it was written later by a collector, but it is not true. It's 8 at the beginning for sure. So I checked, it is from my collection, so I could scan it and to check it in a large picture, and it is 8 for sure. So it is not a 98. I am 100% sure. Yeah, you noticed very well, and I was thinking about it as well, but it is 8 at the beginning. And here we can see 92 and 98 and some others. 92, 99. It's again, I think 95. Yes. So different years. And it had a long period, so I have more pieces from this branch post office. It was a little bit easier to find. And now let's jump to the second period. As I mentioned, in 1951, the postal agencies could not survive anymore. The Hungarian Post decided, and Hungarian Post and government, if it was almost the same, so Hungarian Post was managed by the government, by the state. So they stopped the contracts, and they stated that all these post offices are part of the Hungarian Post, and the postal agencies were renamed to branch post offices. It is very important that it was a one-to-one conversion from the postal agencies. So the postal agencies became branch post offices. And that's why we had the discussion with Tamás Gudlin what to do with the branch post offices. If he wants to publish a catalog about the cancellations of the postal agencies, then we should speak about the branch post offices as well, because from 1951 the postmarks of the postal agencies were used, they continued to use. And about 10 or 12 years we needed to replace the postmarks everywhere. If they opened a new one, then they try to give branch post office postmark. But for the existing one, they kept the old postmarks. So if we are speaking about the postal agencies, the cancellation, the postmark was used also at that time when all these postal agencies were already renamed to branch post office. So this is really important. And when they opened the new post offices, branch post offices, after 1951, it was a very poor period. So it was very difficult after the Second World War and socialist era, and it was really not the richest period of Hungary. So it was very usual that they gave an auxiliary numbered postmark to the post office, to the branch post office. It means that it did not contain the name of the post office. It contained only Magyar Posta and a number, 1 or 2 or 3 digits number. And later, when they had time and money and everything, they produced the branch post office postmark. And I had a lot of special cases when the post office was opened as a branch post office. This post office got this auxiliary numbered postmark, the special one, which doesn't contain anything. And when the real branch post office postmark was produced, it was already closed forever. So it was never used. And the registration label was already produced and was already in use from the beginning. So there are, I don't know how many, but a lot. I have a registration label collection about the branch post offices, and I recognized that, oppa, there is a registration label. It is written on the registration label that it's a branch post office, fiókposta, but there was no such a cancellation at all. How can it be? And I recognized that there was no cancellation because the postal agency cancellation was used. This is the first case. And when they wanted to produce the new one, the fiókposta, the branch post office, it was already closed. The second case, that it was a new post office, they opened it, and after the special cancellation, special postmark, when they wanted to produce the new one, it was already closed. So, but the registration label is there. So if you are interested in, maybe once I can speak about the registration label topics as well, because it is also very interesting. So to come back to the facts, in 1960s and 70s, that was the great period of the branch post offices. A lot of branch post offices were opened in Hungary, and in 80s and 90s, most of them were closed. So after 2000, we had only few branch post offices in life. And the last cancellation that I could find from branch post offices, it was from 2012. Okay, let's go further. And now some examples from the cancellations. The drone pictures to show up a clear picture about them. The first one on the left upper corner, it is always the typical one, the most usual one. So this Abapusta type, this is the most usual one. The second one, this Csaba-Szabadi, the railway station was inserted earlier, PU, pályaudvar, but it was deleted from the postmark. So it is special because you can see that there is a place after Csaba-Szabadi. For Kérsemjén, there are stars in the cancellation because the original one was lost or damaged or whatever happened with the first one, and they had to produce a new one, and it was not allowed to produce the same postmark as before, so they put these stars into the cancellation, and so on. So all of them, the others are specific because of any reasons. And in the right bottom corner, you can see some real cancellations from this fiókposta. If you have already seen the cancellations of the postal agencies, then you can recognize that these cancellations are very similar to the cancellations of the postal agencies. The only big difference that not Postaügyn is written in the bottom part of the cancellation, but fiókposta, branch post office. So that's the big difference. There is a very, and all these cancellations were used mostly 99% in 50s, 1950s. So after 1960, you can find only few cancellations. But if you check this right one, Sárospatak, this is from 69. And this is a very special one. It was very difficult to find out why to use this type of cancellation so late. This is the only one. There is no other one. And the only thing that I can imagine, there is no confirmation for that, that they plan to open this very small branch post office earlier in 1950s, but somehow it did not happen, but the postmark was produced already, and they kept it in the cupboard somewhere. And when it was opened in 1960s somewhere, then they started to use this old postmark. This is my idea how it could happen. So these cancellations were used at the beginning in 50s mostly. This is the second time period for the cancellations, the rounded form, and it was splitted to three parts, an upper part, a middle part, and a bottom part, and the fiókposta SP is included somewhere. Most typically, it was included on the bottom. The very first one is the typical postmark type. But on the second one, you can see Ajka, Bakongyepes, and FP is included after Bakongyepes. And on the third one, FP is included on the top after Enying. Enying, Balaton, Bozsog. Bozsok, bocsánat, sorry. The third one, it is in testing because of the year. Year is with 3 digits, 986. And FP has a small, I would say, decoration, a line decoration. It's not so usual. And for Kalócfa, this one is specific because it has a, how to tell it, an hour, a time indication. So at the end 9, it means that it was used at 9 o'clock or around 9 o'clock. It is also not so usual. The very first one is the usual one. And on the fifth one, Consent Miklós, you can see that FP is included in this very small part on the bottom. And I was really frightened when I found the first one from this type, because I've never checked this small part in the middle of the cancellation. So later I had to review all the cancellations, and I recognized that sometimes it is here, sometimes for example, for Szent Gotthard, it is included on the upper small part. And Kútvölgyi Gyógyintézet, this is part of my city. So this is a health center, a hospital, I would say. And it had an own small post office in 60s and 70s. And the last two types are with 2 circles, I would say 2 rounded cancellations, very rare. It is rare if we compare with all the other cancellations from all the other post offices. This type is not so usual. Sometimes we can find it. And on the right side, you can see a special case where it was a fiók posta, branch post office, Edelény fiók posta, it is written in the registration label. But in the cancellation, you can see PF. It was incorrectly engraved, but it was not corrected at all. So they used in this form so long as the postmark was usable. The next one, here we have a new type where FP is included in the bottom part, but with these small, there is a break in the middle round, I would say. This is, it was used only from 1990s, and there are some different types for that. So the first 4 cancellation pictures are for this type, and after that around 2000, or as you can see, Visegrad, this is the 6th one. This is a very special one. It's an exception, but mostly the new type, this, for example, for Oszlár, Sárvár, Rábasömjén, Vácduka, all these postmarks were used only after 2000. Some Szombathely Szent Király, this is a very special type where FP is in the air, I would say. There is no line around it. And also time is indicated in the cancellation. So that's an interesting type as well. If you check the third one, Rábagyarmat, the date and time is very interesting. So 19 is missing from the year, so you can see only 94, and after that month and day, and at the end again time is indicated. Very unusual. at that time. And on the right side, you can see a special registered letter, but with K registration label, Chestre. This is the name of the post office. And AFPA is in the cancellation. Most probably there was a previous one which was damaged or lost or something happened, and that's why we can find this A in the cancellation. It is from 2000. This K label, it means that it was a tracked letter, but it was allowed to throw into the letterbox. So the signature was not required from the addressed person. If you don't like it, I agree with you. So why it is a registered letter if I do not have a confirmation that it was delivered? And the last types of the fiókposta branch post office postmarks, you can see here the drone pictures. The last two these are not really rounded, so it's a little bit in elliptic form, and very big one. It means that around about 36 millimeter wide. So it is a really big one if we compare with all the other cancellations in the history. And I named these big postmarks as Goliath cancellations, and I collect them. Very rare. And it is interesting that they are mostly used by very small post offices. And unfortunately, most of them were closed later. So maybe that was the last present for the post office. You can use such a nice cancellation. And for branch post offices, only these two postmarks are known. Füzér and Fülöp-Jakab, these two branch post offices use such a so-called Goliath cancellation or postmark. Kemestarótfa and Szalaszentgrót Tekenye, these are also very special types, and I always like if there is a text on the bottom part of the cancellation. It is so interesting, at least for me. On the right side, you can see a registered label from Egyházas Hollós, and you can see that in the registration label there is no sign that it's a fiókposta, but in the cancellation we can see the FP in there. And there was another rule regarding the registration labels that if it was the only one post office of the village, the small one, the branch post office, then it was not indicated in the registration label that it is a fiókposta. If there was a bigger one, for example, in the center of the small village, there was another so-called main post office, and the fiókposta, the branch post office, was a second one or a third one, then it was always indicated in the registration label that it's a fiókposta. And that's why that the registration label is really rare with this indication fiókposta, because in most cases that was the only one in the village. So it is rarest than the others. And at the end, some words about the situation after 2000. First, about the post partners, because today, recently, hundreds of the post partners are opened in Hungary. So all the others, normal post offices are, a lot of post offices are closed, and they make a contract with a shop or with a company, or I don't know what else can be, or maybe I don't know, the önkormányzat, the tanács, like the Rathaus in German, I don't know.
Self-government.
What kind of government?
Self-government.
Self-government, yeah, that's it. Thank you very much, Csaba. Self-government. So they can make a contract also with the management of the self-government, and they can manage the post office, the postal services, and all of them are post partners today. At the beginning, around 2000, we had only few. Today we have hundreds of them, a lot. So I think it is good to know that it is very common today in Hungary. And on the left side, you can see a registered label from Radostyán. In the registration label, you can see Posta Partner. This is the post partner. But if you check the cancellation, there you can see PM in the cancellation, which means postamesterség, postmaster, which is a different type of the postal service. And it means we cannot know which one is the correct one, the registration label or the cancellation. Both can be correct, but only one of them. So at one point, only one can be correct, of course, but we cannot know which one. And unfortunately, there is no correct database from the post. So we try to get the information, but if we get it, we cannot see it on the envelopes, on the cancellations and the registration label. They make a lot of mistakes, unfortunately. On the right side, it's a value declared letter from Kaposvár Cser Posta Partner, post partner, and the cancellation is not so well visible. These pictures are from the collection of Gábor Kaszás, but it's an auxiliary numbered postmark. The number is 642 on the bottom part of the cancellation. The value declared letters are really rare in general. From a post partner, it's more rarer than others. And for today, it is already not in use. So you cannot send a letter as a value declared letter anymore. It is stopped, this service. And I want to speak a little bit about the mobile post. It is also very common today for most of the small villages. Most of them are serviced by mobile post. Mobile post has a very specific cancellation. On the left side, you can see a typical one where the post office is written, the starting post office or the mother post office name is visible, Balatonszentgyörgy in this example, and a 4-digit number, 6654 in this case. This is the mobile post cancellation type. And you can imagine that there is a center post, a mother post, and a post car will deliver the letters and parcels to the small villages around this center post, to other villages. And there is a fixed route for these, for the car, where the car has to deliver the letters and parcels and so on. And the citizens in the small villages, they can put a sign onto the front of the house that they want to send letter or parcel or to pay a check or something, and the car will stop there. And they can give the parcel or whatever, and this car will deliver all the letters and others to the people in the small villages. In these small villages, the people are mostly old and sick, so it's very difficult. It would be difficult to go to the post office. So for them, it's very comfortable that the post comes to home, to the house. But of course, it's a very short time frame when the car is in the small village. And if somebody works during the day, then there is no chance to use this service at all. And on the right side, you can see a very early one, early cancellation, Nagykanizsa 1 post office is the so-called mother post office, the center post office. The mobile post was started from this post office, and it was sent from Fűzvölgy, which is written by the sender, Fűzvölgy, and this is part of the route of this mobile post, and it was sent from there in 2007. And when they closed the post offices in the small villages in Hungary in the last 10 years, a lot of them, hundreds of them were closed, unfortunately. They started to make a contact with a post partner or to start a mobile post. So that these are the two options to have a postal service for these small villages. And unfortunately, in the big cities, they close the post offices and nothing is there instead. For example, in my village, we had 5 or 6 post offices before, and today we have 2 in this city, in inner part, and 1 outside, and that's all for 40,000 people. So you can imagine that it is not an easy situation. In Szeged, they closed, I think, more than 10 post offices, and nothing is there instead of the closed post offices. No post partner, no mobile post, nothing, because it's an inner part of the city. The people could go to the existing post offices. Of course, they are crowded and a lot of people are there. So there is no mandatory service. There is no pressure on the post to do something. For the small villages, they have a pressure. It's mandatory from you and European Union that they have to deliver somehow the letters and they have to give the service. But for the cities, it's not so good. And at the very end, I've made a short summary about the literature, what is available, and I try to give you online possibilities as well. All of them available on the webpage of my stamp collector club, IBK, Internet Philately Club. And here you can find digitally in PDF format a lot of Hungarian philatelic newspapers. Philatéliai Szemle, Bélyegvilág, Orbis Pictus, and all the others under so-called periodicals. If you would log into this homepage, in the right upper corner, you can change the language from Hungarian to English. Unfortunately, a very big part is not translated to English. So sorry for that. We are working on it. This year is reserved for this work. We would like to translate. Oh, the cat is very nice. And we would like to translate a lot of things. And this is a strategical point for my club, for my society, to digitalize so many philatelic newspapers as we can. So you can see here the results. And you can see also some presentations from IBK meetings. We try to upload a lot. Unfortunately, all of them are in Hungarian, but maybe the pictures could be interesting for you. So thank you very much for your kind attention, and hopefully I could give you something interesting.
It was very interesting, really. Are there any, let me open it up to some questions if there are any.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, Paul?
Thank you for the wonderful presentation. I'm curious, is it known who determined what the cancellation should look like?
Very good question.
Hmm.
It is a continuous question in Hungarian, and I try to find out because originally, so maybe we could start from the beginning. Originally, Class Zone company produced 70-90% of the cancellations in Hungary. It was at the beginning of last century, and until mid of last century it was valid. I think about 20-25% of the postmarks or cancellations were produced by other company, but mostly by Class Zone. And they had an own good rule how to produce, how should it look like, and so on. But later, also until today, so today we don't know what is the rule, really not. Sometimes they use decoration, sometimes not. Sometimes it is rounded form, sometimes it's a little bit elliptic form. And I try to find out, but it is not possible to get information from the post, not at all. I tried on different ways. I have so many good friends there, but it was not possible. So I don't know.
Okay, I have a second question, if I may. You're talking about the satellite post offices. What about the Főposta? Doesn't your city have or did have a Főposta? And that could be even FP, you know. So I was
No,
wondering,
it did not happen. It was never abbreviated as FP, never. I could find some cancellations with FP, which are 100% not from branch post office. Sometimes also from Budapest, but not from Főposta. I could find one example where Feldpost was abbreviated as FP, I think for Miskolc maybe, if I remember well. But Főposta itself, it was this name Főposta was used only in Budapest.
I see.
And it was written Budapest Főposta. And they have never abbreviated as FP. In all cities, first of all in the big cities, but everywhere, of course, we had so-called Főposta, a main post,
Yes.
number one post, but it was never named as Főposta, only for the public. This is the main post. I will go to the main post. And all the others were the so-called, as you name, satellite posts, post offices. But FP, I have a small collection about these cancellations, which include FP, but it is not a branch post office, not a Fiókposta.
Fiókposta, yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You are very welcome. Thank you.
I have a question. The Goodland catalog has a point scale. I think from 10 up to 500 and maybe beyond. What is a good rule of thumb for valuing that, when you collectors or buy an auction?
That's again a good question. When we discussed because when we prepared the catalog for these small postal agencies and branch post offices, we used very similar evaluation as it was used in the previous catalog of Tamás Gudlin, and we discussed how to manage it. All the cancellations from postal agencies and branch post offices are rare, really rare. So how to evaluate? It's a little bit rarer than the other, so very, very difficult. And I think a cancellation cannot be evaluated on its own. It is mostly on an envelope or postcard or something. And if it is registered, if it is censored, if it is an express letter, and so on, the value is always different. And for example, for me, if I collect only the branch post offices and I am looking for something specific, then of course this one is more valuable for me, as it would be valuable for others who doesn't collect. So I had a lot of times this question: what does it mean in practice if we gave 10 points to a cancellation as an evaluation? What does it mean in practice? I would say about 54 in 10 point is 54 in, but it means almost nothing, because we have to evaluate the complete piece, the complete item. And sometimes the cancellation is more valuable, sometimes the registration label, sometimes the addressee is very interesting, and so on and so on. And together the quality of the item is very important. So it's really difficult. And we have made a catalog for more than 6,000 cancellations, different cancellations. And if you would like to collect all of them, I can state that it is impossible. So they are so rare, and of course you can find postal agency cancellations very often, but always different. So if you are looking for a specific cancellations from a specific postal agency, it is almost impossible to find. So very, very rare items. So it was very difficult to give an evaluation to the catalog. And of course, I am not sure that it is correct. We only wanted to show up that it's a little, you can find it more often, or it is really so rare that, like this Miskolc fiókposta I showed you from the early period. I've never seen it. I knew it only from the monography. So how to evaluate such a cancellation, what I have never seen? So of course, very rare. R.
Mhm.
Hey,
I
Mariann,
wish
Thank you.
I could answer, but yeah.
Mariann.
Yep.
My name is Jeff Toth. I had a two-part question for you. If you go on to slide 10, the Fiókposta 1, Fiókposta Roman numeral 1A. You mentioned the N was for night and the E was for day. Can you have a Fiókposta 1 with a N or an E? Or is it only with the Fiókposta 1 only comes with an N? Let's see. I think you're on the slide before. I think it's the one after this one. Nope, another one.
This one?
Another
not?
one. No, back. Go back.
Back?
Back.
Okay,
Ah,
Jeff,
there,
Jeff,
this one.
let me answer the question. Okay,
Okay.
the N and the E were inserts put into the cancellation. And the split between N and E was 6 p.m., 6 a.m. So anything from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. was N. I'm sorry, that was E, meaning Ashta.
Okay,
And then 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. was N, meaning Nutball. And
So
the
then-
clerk doing the cancellation was supposed to change the slug.
okay, so, but you would have with this two different branches, you could have both an evening run and a morning run.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. Now if you go to slide 13, I think it has an A. What would the A represent? Next one.
which, yeah.
Yes, yes.
This is a different topic. It is not about day or night. It
Okay,
is only to differentiate between the two constellations.
okay, okay.
Okay, they used to call them control letters. So if they made a canceling device that was the original one, it would have an A. And if they made a replacement device for it, then it was 1A. So it's a different generation of canceling devices.
Mhm.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Csaba.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Oh, Mariann, thank you very much. That was fascinating. I have to go
Well,
looking.
welcome.
Yeah, I have to go look for my cancellations in the cover collection I have.
That's exactly
And
what I
if
was
you could
thinking.
find it, then I am more than happy to buy it.
I will look for them when we get back. Thank you. Just one note, next month we won't have a presentation. The next one is in 2 months, April. Jan Jaap will be presenting on folded typewriter postcards. So I'll be sending out information on that closer to the early April. Well, Mariann, again, thank you very much. And thank you all for attending. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you. And it was a great pleasure for me to see you and to meet you. I am
Yeah.
really happy that I could join this group. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Oh,
Happy to learn something new, and I appreciate it.
yeah, it was fascinating.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye
Thank
now.
you. Bye-bye.
Well, bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.